Let's try to understand, if you're a property tax funded operation, what this means after reading the Chronicle story today. Your current tax rate is roughly $1.20. That's what the story reported.
It's 0.0117 per 100, yes.
0.0117 per 100.
100.
Okay, all right. So that's a penny and nearly 112, I guess, that rounded up. Now, that's something that they fixate on as the rate, but really what I need to understand, what's your levy? So what has been your property tax levy collections over the last 3 years?
This current year, it was approximately $990,000.
Prior year?
I don't have that value top of mind, but it was close. We have been trying to do the no new revenue rate.
So you've been trying to do no new net revenue rate, even though you're a special taxing jurisdiction and you can use a higher rollback rate?
We can, because our direction when we went through sunset was to dedicate the surplus and not add to it.
Okay, and Mr. Bushnoe, the point that Dr. Schwartner is making, and as well as my former prosecutor from Harris County is making, is that the decision, the technology that you were asking for $1 million grant on seemed to be perfectly suited to the problem that occurred on July the 4th. These were 10 low water crossing areas with gauges, with warnings for people not to proceed. It seemed to be an automatic system. It would have reported into some type of general system. And that was a system well in advance of the dashboard that you're putting together now. So I just have to ask the same question that Senator Mendez almost asked. Why did you drop it?
The 5%, the grant was the approach that our board wanted to take, was the grant. And so we were going to also take our funds along with grant funds from the state and then approach our other partners to contribute to an in-kind. Flood warning's a multi-jurisdictional issue, and we wanted to solve it as a community, or improve it as a community.
I mean, you had a delta interest cost of $30,000, I'm guessing. Incremental interest cost.
I understand.
And that's pretty de minimis to be talking about all the lives that were lost on July the 4th.
I understand.
I can't begin to estimate, or even begin to think I'm smart enough to estimate what those 10 gauges and those warning systems lives would have saved if they had been online on that day.
I also need clarity, too, to understand whether our enabling legislation would allow us to pay back the loan with tax dollars. And the 2-week response period between the pre-application and the full application was not sufficient to also address that or convene our board to also consider a loan instead of the grant, which we had originally discussed.
You know, and Mr. This is the type of thinking that Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Governor Abbott, and Speaker Burrows have already basically said the state's going to try to pay for this because we can't have these type of decisions made, because I don't even want to say that it's penny wise and pound foolish. There's too many lives that were lost in this on that day. You know, this is an appreciating market value area, true, because your tax rate used to be twice or higher than that. And as the value's gone up, your rates have gone down.
Yes, sir.
And so these the people on this board that own these camps and own this property, they know that. And the reasoning why is because this is generally an idyllic area, except maybe one out of every 5,000 days when it turns into a flash flood. So I know all of y'all know this. And so, again, I ask, but I would ask if you had this decision to do over again, what would you do?
I think anybody would have done anything in their power to prevent the devastation if it had been predicted.
Well, that's what we're going to attempt to do now. I'm just, you know, mathematically, and as the property tax guy in the family, you know, this decision is just pathetic. I don't have any other way to put it. because we're talking about an incremental 30-some-odd thousand dollars. And this was not even asking for help. I mean, you didn't have the Representative West at this point.
I think,
Well, Senator, I've got to make this point, Chairman.
I just want
I'm
to.
not trying to be vain, but when we come to a fundamental decision like this, I'm going to call it. Because,
I'm going to go back to the initial tone and theme. We're not here to arm check. I'm not suggesting to you that I agree with the decision or don't agree with that decision. I will remind people it's multitasking, multifaceted. I don't quite agree, but that's not my choice. I would like to think that the magnitude of the rain event and what it was is the largest conversation that we can't fix. I would suggest to you that you could feel that decision was the wrong one probably, and we can always be, in hindsight, experts. I could argue it many, many ways and many, many days, but I'm not here and no one is here to assess blame. But that decision does cause a lot of consternation. But I think we need to move on. The point's been made, and I don't want to belabor that because it's not the intent.
Mr. Chairman, with permission, I have one other question.
One other question.
You talked about sirens. You read that roughly they're approximately a 3-mile radius. And I think we have to look at this as any possibility to get through to people on layered results is the right answer. Because 29% of Texans have learned to turn these alerts off, and approximately 1/6 of people turn the phones off at night. That's nearly 50%. So if we layer in sirens on top of alerts, or any other methods that we could possibly, and river crossings with automated warnings is a great idea. And so are we missing that on an integrated solution? Because, look, I don't care how people get the information they need. But the only way to survive a 26-foot wall of water is to get out of the way. And that's what all these decisions are going to be about. And I'm not trying to offend you by saying it was a pathetic decision, because I'm just disappointed. Because I know what the property tax facts are and what the revenue sources could be. But can you see that we're going to have a layered and integrated response, and that any idea is better than none?
I agree, yes. And we have our USGS gauges that we have consistently funded as well, and we have our rainfall gauges that we've also funded. I agree there's much room for improvement, and we are working towards that.
Okay, thank you.